before I tell you mine, I just want you to know that I know Loretta Swit's mother, Nell. She lived to be 105 years old, and she was the most wonderful woman. Into 103? 106. That's better than the stock market.
Never called her Mrs. Swit, it was Nell. No, Nell and Jamie, they were like, this thing. And she was always thrilled to go to the Farr house for the holidays. And there's a long driveway that goes up, and she would look up and she'd say, Jamie lives in a castle. You know, say, no, Ma, it's a house up a hill. It's a castle. She would say, Jamie's my favorite on MASH. In public. I'd say my mother means next to me. No, I didn't. Jamie's my favorite. I mean, she was relentless. Jamie. So, but occasionally now, Mom eventually wound up at the motion picture home, which is not too far from the castle. And Jamie, like, I wouldn't even know this is going on. Jamie would stop in and visit with her, okay? Now, a couple of weeks later, oh, well, Jamie told me when he came up, I said, excuse me, yo, Jamie came to see me the other day. Jamie didn't mention it to me, you know? But it was, it meant so much to her, you know? It just was, yeah, he's probably the loveliest man I know.
Oh, get out. Okay, I turned 88 years old, so I grew up with radio. I loved radio. And Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock, of course, as a kid, you had to go to bed at night because you got school. But Bob Hope was on NBC at like 9 o'clock, and Red Skelton was on at 9:30. So my mother said, you can listen to Bob Hope, but you got to go to bed at 9:30. So I got a crystal set. And I said, okay, Mom. I get under the covers and I put the crystal set and I listened to Red Skelton on the radio. It was my favorite. Anyway, later I come to Hollywood and I did a pilot for CBS called The Mighty O. It was a Navy show. It starred Craig Stevens, Lola Albright, Alan Hale Jr., and Richard J. Cole. And I was this Navy guy called Schnorkel. I always get these great names, Langer Schnorkel. So anyway, he's a guy who could smell anything, and they had this chef that was with them. And the pilot didn't sell. But Sherwood Schwartz, who you all know, Gilligan's Island and the Brady Bunch of that, was Red Skelton's head writer. So he said, you know, one of the characters that Red had to come up with is a military character. He says, you know, even though, let's take the kid with the big nose, and we'll give Red Skelton the chef's part. And this is now live television, okay? So they write a script, Sherwood writes a script, and I'm playing his buddy, and Red's playing it. Now, this is live TV, and Red Skelton likes to ad-lib. And there's a half-hour show. You know, if he starts to ad-lib, they're eating up time with the thing. So I'm this kid, I'm like maybe 20 years old, you know, with him, carrying half the show with him. And the whole thing is we find this little Korean baby, and he wants to adopt it. The only way you can adopt the baby, the ship is coming into San Francisco, is if he's married. So Red Skelton dresses me up as his wife. Anyway, the audience was crazy and that, and Red's ad-libbing, and I have to make an entrance or something, and they're telling me, cut out page 22 and 23. What the hell's on 22 and 23? I just got the cue cards out and I get that, 18 and 20 years old, I've got to remember what it is. Anyway, the show was a big hit. And I came back and I did several more of them, and then I got drafted into the real Army. And I wound up in Japan and Korea. And I actually went through a MASH units in Korea. And at that time, Red's son, Richard, who was 12 years old, died from leukemia. So Red wanted to do something for the military. And unlike Bob Hope, he wanted to do shows in Korea, but he didn't want to take a big camera crew with him. He just wanted to do encampments and by himself. So he requested me from the State Department. I was a private, and I got VIP status and flew on a United Nations airplane, and we traveled all the way across Korea in little encampments all over the place. and went all the way up to the DMZ, all the way up to the 38th parallel, entertaining the troops. He was just Red, and I introduced him and do whatever he needed for props and that. He used to do Guzzler's Gin. You remember he used to, he put water in the thing, and Guzzler's Gin is smooth, you know, and he'd do all those routines. By the end of the thing, he's really anyway, they call and they say, what do you need for props? We said we need a stool and a gin bottle. Well, they thought we needed a bottle of gin, so they thought we were knocking off a bottle of gin at every stop like that. So the air helicopters would land, and there'd be a general coming out with martinis on a trailer. And then I look at that point, these guys are drinking around here. They're thinking we're drinking it. So anyway, Red decides to go back to the United States. He said to me, you know, he says, when you come back to the United States, he says, it may be difficult for you to get jobs again. So if you're in trouble, you come and see me, all right? So I come home, this was the day after Hawaii was made a state, and I get back into to California, ready to start my career again, and my father died. So my mom didn't have any money, and I needed to quit the business. So I went to see Red to say goodbye to him at CBS. And he said, no, you're not. He said, I told you, if anything happened, you come and see me. Pulled out a lot of $100 bills, gave them to me, he said, send that home to your mother, you're working for me. So he put me under contract, and I worked all of the famous nightclubs all over the United States with Red. And we played the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, the Shea Paris in Chicago, the Moulin Rouge in Los Angeles, the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, and that. And he actually saved my career, and he was my idol as a kid. Can you imagine that? I had a St. Christopher medal here that I wore that he gave me in the Army, and I still wear it to this day. It says your friend, Red Skelton. So,